Hey everyone, I just wanted to let you know before I start this video that this video is very technical, very difficult, and very deep on explanations. The first half of this video is very much meant for people that may not understand everything about raiding in Destiny or may not understand Destiny itself. The second half of this video very much focuses on the race itself. So if you guys are experienced, I encourage you to skip to about halfway through, or if you just want to listen to everything, I also encourage that as well. Also, I was a little bit congested when recording some of these lines. My apologies, allergies are going crazy. Anyways, enjoy the video. There's timestamps to all the different chapters, and thank you so much for watching this type of video. It's a new one for me and was definitely ambitious. 3 players just raced for a challenge that was considered impossible to the vast majority of gamers. But if you're familiar with any sort of challenge, real life or video games, you know it's only impossible in the eyes of the beholder. Against all odds and pushback, Destiny history was just attempted to be made. But before we get to the thrilling conclusion, we must first talk about the race itself. And not just any race, the race for Destiny 2's hardest challenge. A challenge that is designed with 6 players in mind, and the best players in the world to even attempt. But now, it was just reduced to 1. This is the race for Solo Atheon. Some footage in this video is from players around the community. Their links will be in the description of this video, as well as the music too. Normally I would say something about subscribing or YouTube goals, but for this video I encourage you to follow the players who participated in this race. They're the ones that attempted gaming history. I'm just the person interested in their stories. All links to their channels are in the description. Go show some support. The most recent raid race, for a raid that returned from 2014 and bolstered into 2021. Atheon was defeated by Clan Elysium in 4 hours, 13 minutes, and 21 seconds for the world's first title. Take what Elysium accomplished with 6 players and reduce that down to just 1. 1 player taking on Destiny's newest and baddest raid boss. Seems pretty improbable, right? Some would even argue it to be impossible. Even raid racers believe this to be the case for a while. Destiny is a game that has seen plenty of raid bosses taken down by less than 6 players. In fact, I originally asked all of you in a poll which video I should make next, and solo of an entire raid was the most voted for. So this is far from the first time a raid boss was thought to be taken down solo. Actually, the original Atheon as of September 26, 2020 had been beaten by a solo player named Vosik The Archpriest. The strategy in Destiny 1 has some similarities that we'll point to for this video, but for Destiny 2, Atheon went from an indefinite no to something players began to chop away at. To understand how difficult this encounter is, one must first understand how this encounter works. Atheon spawns in not only itself, but 2 sets of harpies in the air, one set on the left and one on the right, and waves of harpies to flood players while Atheon shoots at the player. Atheon then teleports 3 players out of the 6-player fire team into one of 2 portals, all 3 together. These portals are what players have coined as Venus and Mars. The players who have been teleported must kill a gatekeeper to allow for the players who didn't get teleported to be able to raise the plates for them, allowing for safe passage for the teleported players. Atheon then spawns 3 sets of 3 oracles for the players on the outside to communicate an order of shooting to the players inside. This is different from the Destiny 1 Atheon, which would just teleport you into a side and any oracle could be shot in any order. Back to Destiny 2, once all 3 sets of 3 oracles are shot, Atheon is able to be damaged and empowers the player to be able to get their abilities back very fast. This meant super energy, grenades, class abilities, and melees coming back at a much stronger pace. But it can be sped up even more by having things like strength, discipline, and intellect. Atheon has a lot of health even for the very powerful builds Destiny 2 players are able to curate. Actually, Atheon has 8.94 million health. Keep in mind, the average player does around 750,000 to 1.5 mil during a damage phase. That's a pretty wide range of damage, but the point is, even doing 1.5 million damage isn't enough to kill this boss solo. Atheon has 4 phases for players to damage it, so that would mean a player would have to hit Atheon for 2.235 million damage per phase in 4 phases straight. Well above our estimated 1.5 that experienced players are hitting. This was the first thought that stopped players for going for the solo, but as the raid was beaten by 6 players, then 5, then 4, then 3 the very next day, and even duo 2 days after the raid came out, solo became more of a thought. So you would think that solo was going to be smashed so quickly, since it only took 2 days for duo of the entire raid to be beaten. But damage was a huge problem, and so were the mechanics that solo required. But let's back it up a bit again. How was Atheon even able to be taken out with less than 4 players to begin with? I just got done telling you how Atheon teleported 3 players every time, and that the person outside had to raise the plate for the players inside to get back for damage. So how does a player stay outside? Using a tech introduced with Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, a player can get an enemy weak, then finish it with a cool animation. But since the animation is locked, the game will always try to put the player back in the starting position of the finisher. This tech, which is called the finisher glitch, is used to achieve Solo of Last Wish's Queen's Walk encounter. By finishing an enemy at just the right time while the player is supposed to be teleported, the game goes into a sort of failsafe and forces the player back to the spot where the finisher first took place. The same rules apply to Atheon's teleport. Right when the big boss tries to teleport players into Venus or Mars, a player can finish a harpy when their screen flashes to white. Too early or late and the player will remain in Venus or Mars, being forever lost in time and wiping because someone always has to be outside with Atheon. This finisher glitch is the single piece that allows this challenge to be possible, and the duo follows the same guidelines. Just kill the gatekeeper, raise the plate, give oracle callouts, shoot oracles, and damage the boss. Duo at the time was beaten in 4 phases of damage using supers like Thunder Crash with the Curus of the Falling Star chest piece for more damage on the super, and pulse grenades to add to the folly. So now you know how hard duo even was, and that was in 4 phases of damage from players that had basically lived in the encounter. We're talking the top 1% of the top 1% needing 4 phases of damage to get it done. But if there's something that we all know, it's that time is always the key factor in any challenge, and focusing said time on the solo was the only thing players had left to do. So with all Lowmans of Atheon done, it meant only solo Atheon was left. And in a game where solo raid bosses are always the biggest of feats, it was up to the best players in the world to figure this one out. On July 5th of 2021, Reddit user Spaznips posted on the subreddit Raid Secrets detailing the progress on a solo Atheon strategy. This involved the finisher glitch and picking up the relic, but problems started to occur at the beginning of the solo that weren't present with anything other than the solo. Number 1, the finisher had a 1/6 chance to spawn the player not in front of the relic to pick up. This was originally thought that it was a 2/6 chance, but a player named T later figured out a specific strategy to remove one of these, to reduce the likelihood of a wipe to a 1/6 chance.
Oh man. Please give me something good. Alright, that works.
The 1 in 6 chance has a likelihood to kill a player right there, ending a run. My best guess as to why this happens is because in a 6-player environment where 3 players are going to spawn, you don't want to stack the spawns on top of each other, so one may just be just out of reach from the other 2, thus not being able to pick up the relic. So on Mars' side, there was a chance that the relic just wouldn't be able to be grabbed and the run would just die there. But on Venus' side, T was able to save at least one of these. This instantly kills the Solo due to pure RNG and is something that can happen on even the deepest of runs, being a real test of a runner's patience. The final early stage problem to tackle was the Gatekeeper's spawn. Remember, this Gatekeeper must die or the teleporter can't even be raised and the player can't run into the portal later to shoot the oracles. So how does one do this? Runners had to kill the Gatekeeper within a less than a second window while in the process of picking up the relic. So weapons like Anarchy and Witherhoard were the only weapons that could accomplish killing it, since they do tick damage over time. But the shot had to be precise, and lining it up wasn't all that easy because the camera worked against you half the time.
Doesn't have like a... What am I trying to say? Like, it doesn't have any collision to it. The Witherhoard just goes straight through it and it goes straight down there and... So, yeah. Anyway.
Keep in mind, all of these challenges are just part 1 of the solo. Now it was on to the execution and part 2 of the challenge. Let's say a runner got the Witherhoard or Anarchy on the Gatekeeper and killed it. It was then a race to get to the plate, read the oracles, open the portal, and shoot all 3 before they broke. A player always has to be outside of the portal for the run to not soft lock and end. It's a failsafe that kills the player here, but Bungie also allows for about a 3-second window in the portal before a player must exit and avoid wiping the run. So in sequence, a player must finish her glitch, kill the Gatekeeper, raise the plate, read the oracles fast, then shoot the correct sequence of those oracles in either Venus or Mars side while being mindful of that 3-second window to refresh the teleport and dealing with the ads in the process at the same time. Let's compare this to the Destiny 1 counterpart where the player has an ability called self-res to revive themselves from imminent death. Also, the oracles had no order to be shot in Destiny 1, so a player just had to run in the portal and shoot whichever oracle they could. The only downside to this counterpart was that you needed to guess the side for Atheon for the oracles, since you never got teleported in. But the window of time running into the portal was a lot more forgiving. Now back to Destiny 2. Let's say the runner gets past all of this and gets to damage for Atheon. It just simply wasn't enough. In Destiny 1, Atheon didn't have a ton of health on normal mode, allowing for Vosik to complete the boss in 2 phases of damage. But in Destiny 2, even with all the buffs and debuffs available to the player, Atheon was still not moving that health bar. This was the challenge that Vote for Shifu, T, and Baxley would look to tackle. These 3 runners all came together to start strat crafting an idea for damage, since like we said, you would need 4 phases of over 2.235 million damage for the kill while managing everything else in your head. This was going to be a juggling act like no other to hit Destiny 2. But if there were players capable of coming together and beating this monumental challenge, it was these 3. Vote for Shifu is a Destiny 2 low man challenge player whose solo experience has been being world's first to solo the Descent encounter in Bungie's most recent raid, Deepstone Crypt. Soloing this encounter used a similar method of finisher glitching to accomplish a seemingly improbable challenge.
That's it! That's it! Oh! 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 I did it!
Shifu was hungry to get Atheon next, because while clearing an encounter solo is fantastic, soloing a raid boss, especially the final boss of the newest raid, is something that will forever live in legend to the player base. Similarly, T is a low man challenge player whose experience was coming up with the strategy to solo Aatrox 1, a boss from the Deepstone Crypt raid, which didn't require finisher glitching, but a whole lot of juggling, strat crafting, and precision to execute.
Woo! Finally! Oh my god! Let's go! Yes!
T may not have been the first to accomplish the solo, but the challenge would have never been thought to be beaten had T not come up with the strategy of at least getting a full cycle of damage. So it's easy to see why T would be extremely hungry. Finally, Baxley is a low man challenge player who has been soloing raid bosses since the days of Crota from Destiny 1, and does have a world's first final raid boss soloed under his belt, with Riven from Last Wish being first soloed by Baxley. So, knowing all of what we know about these three runners, their experience, and how monumental this challenge was going to be, it was time for them to start strat crafting the damage and race for a world's first of the hardest challenge in all of Destiny 2. Now that all sorts of stakes, context, mechanics, and proof of pinnacle this challenge was going to be, it's time for the race itself. Shifu, T, and Baxley did most of the strat crafting required for this solo to even be attempted, with all three of these players basically living in this encounter for weeks on end. You see, the best known damage to players came in the form of a special type of grenade called the fusion grenade. These grenades hit for 54,000 damage on their own, which is nice, but even nicer is the fact that Time's Vengeance from Atheon gives the player a grenade back almost instantaneously. This was the strategy that was initially employed by Shifu, but on a Warlock with the exotic chest piece Starfire Protocol for 2 fusion nades at once, making throwing them even faster. What was even nicer was a seasonal artifact mod called Breach and Clear, which allowed the player to add a 30% debuff of damage to bosses simply by hitting them with a grenade launcher. Add on the exotic weapon Anarchy for the Breach and Clear buff, plus ticks of 10,000 damage constantly while throwing grenades, and you have not nearly enough damage.
No! I messed it up. Rip. Yeah, let's get that clip.
Oh, and that was with a sniper rifle in between on top of this. Atheon was just that strong. Shifu didn't even think it was possible, stating that, quote, "I've decided to give up on solo Atheon for now. It does not seem feasible with the current strats, but I encourage people to look for ways to kill the Gatekeeper more consistently. That being said, here's a video showing the full one cycle I managed to get." So that was it for the time being on June 8th of 2021. But time is all it would take to see new strategies come to fruition. A lot of players had been messing with the fusion grenades for Atheon, but were looking for ways to enhance it even further. For starters, the perk Demolitionist on the grenade launcher Salvager's Salvo allows for the weapon to reload every time you throw a grenade. But even with perfect timing in fusion nades, the damage can't be accomplished. We talked about Starfire Protocol, but unfortunately the grenades in that time allotted even with Breach and Clear weren't doing enough damage on their own. So players got creative. Pause. I don't want you to pay attention to the spinning hammer, although it's like a gazelle in the wind. No, I want you to pay attention to the buff on the left side of the screen. Roaring Flames ×3. Solo Riven had been completed again in the Season of the Splicer on June 27th by Esoterickk, but now the strategy had come to life for runners of Solo Atheon. So what is Roaring Flames anyways? Roaring Flames is a class ability that came with the subclass Code of the Devastator back in Destiny 2 Forsaken in 2018, and the ability states that kills with solar abilities increase the ability's damage, stacking up to 3 times for 20 seconds, with refreshes being available the more ability kills there are. So basically, any throwing hammer, grenade, or super kill will increase the damage of those abilities by 3 times what they originally hit for. So now go back to our fusion grenades hitting for 57,000 damage per grenade. With Roaring Flames ×3, that meant 171,000 damage per grenade hit. But now you have to add Breach and Clear on top of that, and that meant 222,300 damage per grenade thrown. This had to be in the bag then, right? I mean, just do the solo, but this time with a Titan. Get Roaring Flames stacked up and kill the boss. What if I told you this was still not enough damage for the 4-phase kill? Let's say you throw a grenade every 2 seconds without missing a single grenade during a 20-second damage phase. Well, that's still 100,000 damage short of damage needed per phase. Keep in mind that the boss moves around and you aren't exactly safe from other enemies shooting you and messing up your routine. Even though these players are basically Terminators, they are also human, and error can come into play during the damage phases. So even if you were perfect in all 4 phases, you would still be just short and lose it. Plus, there is another part of the damage phase I have yet to mention. About halfway through damaging the boss, Atheon will put a debuff on the player called Imminent Detainment. Normally in a 6-player environment, the player that gets detained will run away from the group and have to be shot free from other players. But we are in a solo environment, so how does one avoid being detained? Originally, players were timing the detain and breaking themselves free of it, which is definitely something admirable and required some practice of getting the time of, but players found out later that if you were holding the relic, you never actually got detained. This was a massive find in the quest for Solo Atheon. However, it also meant more time of not damaging the boss. So even that perfect run would have to be even more refined and still wouldn't be enough damage to complete the solo. Now these runners were stumped, and the runs were lost just due to the fact that the damage was going to be near impossible to pull off. But just like Destiny 2 Forsaken introduced Roaring Flames, it brought another piece to the table. Forsaken also introduced the exotic chess piece, Heart of Inmost Light. This exotic is all about using abilities to buff other abilities. If the player is to place a barricade, it will empower the player's grenade and melee abilities to do more damage. This empowered buff only lasts for 10 seconds, but will add 30% for that time, giving the runners of 290,000 per grenade for that 10-second window, which is enough to kill Atheon in 4 damage phases. But that downtime of placing the barricade and needing to pick up the relic meant that the runners were going to need to get even more creative to accomplish the kill. That time loss meant that putting not 1 but 2 barricades down during damage was going to be necessary. So now you have fusion grenades, Breach and Clear, Roaring Flames ×3, and Empowered ×2 for even more damage. All of this together meant that the players were hitting 380,000 damage per grenade. I know this is all a mouthful and very overwhelming, but this is the lengths gamers will go to accomplish the seemingly impossible. Trial and error were the better part of weeks for this kill. The runners were so annoyed with the placement of the gatekeeper shots, they even considered taping a piece of paper to their monitors for orientation on where to shoot. Not only tape, but full 3D texturing that you'd find in Roblox as well, using their graphics card settings to just line up this shot. It was now possible, and damn if the race wasn't heating up. It was like once the method of accomplishment was there, runners basically didn't leave this encounter until it was done. For the better part of 2 months, this had been theorized, but now on the date of July 8th, 2021, the race for the kill hit the final lap, and Shifu, T, and Baxley all wanted that glorious world's first kill. Hundreds, even thousands gathering to watch something that really didn't seem possible a month ago, and definitely impossible 2 months prior to when the Vaulted Glass came to Destiny 2. On July 8th of 2021, Baxley, T, and Shifu were all three in a dead sprint for first place, and the title of World's First Solo Atheon. But, like all great final sprints, there tends to be some stumbles along the way. It was like everything that could go wrong for each of these runners seemed to go wrong.
Close mid, close left. Close mid, close left. I think that's it. Rip.
No! Fuck, dude! Ah.
Tracking. No, I love that. Bro. Okay. What the f-
What was that tracking? What the f was that?
PPB. Almost fucking killed him. Let's go. I need like 5 minutes.
Ow, ow, ow. No shot that just happened. Hidden left, close mid. Hidden left, close mid.
No! 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 What?
No.
I ran out of time. I killed the Oracle. No! Oh, I literally killed it. What do you mean?
Then, after days of coming so close day by day, mishap after mishap, run after run being killed by Gatekeeper Witherhorde shots, close left Venus Oracles, glitches from the raid itself, bad relic RNG, order of operation mishaps, and simply just some silly deaths, we jump to Wednesday, July 14th. Baxley had a great run going in and was very much on pace for the world's first kill. But Atheon had other plans.
No, 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 no.
No! 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 Way! No!
After this wipe, Baxley ended up calling it for the day. And I mean, can you blame the poor guy? One grenade away from achieving history had to be heartbreaking, especially knowing how close the other two runners were in achieving the kill too. With Baxley logging off for the day, but very close to the kill, it meant that it was time for action from either Shifu or T that night. T was on a god run, and T, who had been so close to a kill before, was now knocking on the door of it. I mean, he was on a run so good, he might as well have been done in 3 phases of damage. All he had to do was get back to basics on his mechanics. He even got the relic and gatekeeper portion of his run finished. Now all that was left was to kill some oracles and throw maybe 1 or 2 grenades at Atheon. T teleports back to Mars side, and on his way to Venus side, with no room for error on his swaps allowed and a very tiny window to even raise the plate. Then, one supplicant blows up on him. This is very common, and usually players can tank 1 supplicant explosion. But I think you know where we end up with this one.
I killed. Yeah, dead. God damn it. That's so annoying! I didn't kill enough of the subs. God damn it.
This death is not supposed to happen. If a player is standing on the sync plates, supplicants are not supposed to be able to blow up on them since the proximity isn't close enough, nor are they programmed to get that close to the plate. However, with great teamwork, this supplicant was able to blow up on T. The first one started to blow up because T had already been jumping while it was in the blow up animation. This death, however, was unavoidable for T, especially since he was in his menu already. But certainly the air left the room at this moment. This death reminds me of the Portal 2 God Run that was stopped by a collision of 2 turret cubes that Sushi covered, in which 2 turrets colliding with each other bounced one just in the right spot to end a run, making it the unluckiest speedrun that the game had ever seen. And I would have to call T's death here one of the unluckiest deaths I have ever seen in a challenge run. So if Baxley and now T had unfortunate endings to their nights, it was up to Shifu to bring it home.
No.
Oh my god! Oh my god! He's dead!
Shifu had achieved world's first Solo Atheon that very same night, and an unforgettable final lap for these players and the community that watched as this unfolded. Months of hard work and a one-time thought to be impossible challenge had now been completed by the very same person who thought it to not be doable. A challenge such as this one shows just how far players will push themselves to do something legendary in games, and it proves why the best of the best are the way they are, putting in that much effort, time, and thought into their craft. Some of you watching might have just seen this as a superficial challenge, a no reward stake at something that anyone could do, and you're right, but these players actually did it. And I would say, by the end of all of it, it was less of a race for who was first, and more of a race for if it could even be done. So that is the story of Solo Atheon. And if you did like this story, I encourage all of you to watch these players. I'm always a fan of players and their stories, community stories, and legendary moments like this one that may fly under the radar in the gaming world. And let me know if you'd want me to cover even more in-depth challenges like this one in the future, Destiny, or other gaming communities. But until next time, I will be there for that story.
Dude. I was so, like, scared of it. Wait, why is it not killing me? Why is it not killing me at all in here?
It's 3 symbols.
What is going on? Game, are you good?
And then you get to level 7.
Oh, hi, Atheon. Oh, hi, Atheon.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
What now?
What the?
Yes, sir. Oh, bye, Atheon.